All right, guys, my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehan with Dr. Sharnael True TV. Super excited to have a second time guest here with us to talk about one of my favorite subjects and one of my favorite things that we use here at our private practice. We're going to go into methylene blue today with Mr. Toby. I'll keep wanting to call you Dr. Toby because you're so daggone smart, but welcome to the show. Welcome back.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, this is an exciting topic because I think it's really blown up over the past couple of years, and obviously for good reasons. But yeah, this is a hot topic right now, and I think people really need to know more about it and understand what the benefits are.
Yes. So I didn't know anything about it. Because I started using ozone and went to your site, which I'll leave all the links here for you guys to check it out. That there were several suppositories. I first started looking at the probiotics because I take probiotics, but you guys have the suppositories, which bypass the whole gut issue and
Yeah.
really can help, and you can do them rectally, vaginally, depending on what's ever going on. Obviously, if you're a male, you're not going to do it vaginally. But then I saw some of the other ones, you had the vitamin C, um, EDTA, which I
Yeah.
haven't even opened yet. You had the hemp ozone ones. So for people who maybe can't get ozone treatments every day,
Yeah.
like it's just a little kind of extra. But then, so the probiotics that we talked about, which obviously these I have been using and I love, absolutely love. And then of course the methylene blue, which be careful, little disclosure here. It will make like a Smurf type panty line and toilet bowl
Yeah.
thing going on. So be prepared. But I did start to see that you can use hydrogen peroxide in the toilet bowl and it makes it go away, or just hurry up. But
Yeah.
any tips you have, but tell us about tips and or what is methylene blue and how can it benefit us?
So methylene blue is really cool. I mean, it's technically a food dye. It's been around for a while. They use it for coloring in food. It's all food grade. But what it's doing in the most simplistic form, what it's doing is you ingest or take in methylene blue. It essentially allows your body to it allows your hemoglobin to attach more oxygen to it. And then in addition, it also has antimicrobial effects in the body, especially when you expose yourself to UV light. So that's a huge plus. So like during that time a few years ago, when people were getting sick, um, people had oxygen depletion issues, people were having microbes in their system. I mean, it was literally like the bee's knees thing that you could take that increased your oxygen supply and also fought off pathogens, in your body at the same time. Like I have a pretty good example as far as how it works. My coworker usually every year goes to see some people he knows in Bolivia, and that's obviously in South America. They one of the things that they do is they go up to some of the high altitude lakes. We're talking like 13,000 feet in elevation, and so he lives here at like 1,000 feet. So he's going from 1,000 to 13,000 feet in a matter of like 3 or 4 days, and usually like it's pretty common knowledge that altitude sickness will occur for most individuals. He's always been susceptible to altitude sickness as well. um, I always send him off with methylene blue. Is like, here, take this. And I was like, so how did it go? And every time he comes back, he's like, I had no altitude sickness, and everybody else was like huffing and puffing and having issues. But it just kind of goes to show you that it almost allows your body to work more efficiently. And I think it's something that people need to be aware of. It's so easy to take too. Suppositories are really going to be bioavailable. It's going to get in your system really fast. It's going to be a high potency dose. There are other ways to take it. There are tinctures that you can take. The only thing I don't like about the tinctures is it's going to stain your teeth a little bit. I am working on a project right now where we are going to be incorporating methylene blue into capsules. So that'll bypass the mouth and it'll just go right to the gut, and that'll essentially take care of any like dye issues in the mouth or teeth. So That's something that I'm working on, which I should have, hopefully pretty soon. So
That's great. Yeah. When I started looking into this, I just mentioned it to a couple of people who were pretty good athletes. And they were like, duh, like you haven't heard of this, because they use it very regular, for training and just to give them a little edge on
yeah,
oxygen. Because I just went to that that I went to the ozone certification and the
yeah,
prozone certification. One of the things that stuck out to me that Dr. Frank kept talking about, and it just really clicked, is it's not the lack of oxygen, because a lot of people that I'll test when they come in my clinic, their oxygen levels are fine. It's the absorption levels of the availability to take in and absorb the
yeah,
oxygen. And so, we're upstairs, and like you said, people even just coming upstairs, they're huffing and puffing going upstairs, and it's like, you know, when I test their oxygen, they're like, "Oh, we're always out of breath or whatever." And I'm like, "Well, your oxygen levels are great. It's not that. It's the availability to be able to
yeah.
actually take in that oxygen into the cells and the mitochondria and to help with ATP and all
Yeah.
of that." So that's kind of where I see it can help, overall with everything, in the past
Yeah.
issues that we've had, but also with anybody who's training or anybody who's just trying to lose weight and needs more oxygen, or anyone who's dealing with a major illness. We know that oxygen, if you have more of it, disease can't live in oxygen. So the more oxygen, the better. Um,
Oh,
but go
and
ahead.
I totally agree with you. So like my whole take on the whole oxygen side is, um, a lot of people as they age, they get older. You just become more susceptible to injury. So you have to push yourself harder and harder. So like if you can supplement your body with some type of oxygen or allow your body to absorb more oxygen, you have the ability. First of all, you're going to feel more motivated to exercise. You can start slowly getting back into it and prime your body for exercise, because a lot of people, when they push it too hard, they hurt themselves, and then when you hurt yourselves, you're not exercising, and then as you progress in life, the more you hurt yourself, the less likely you are to even consider exercising.
Right.
And that's why a lot of people are getting into EWAT therapy as well. It's a whole nother take on adding oxygen to the system. You're not getting out of breath as much. Like I think when you get out of breath and you feel really winded, that's when your body makes mistakes, and that's when you hurt yourself. Like you're compensating for your lack of breath, and then you might step funny, you might twist something. Where if you have that energy, you're more primed, you're more in line, you're more focused, and you're way less likely, in my opinion, to potentially suffer a injury that ends everything. So I did want to note, like on the whole oxygen side, that I find that some people don't really realize, but I think it's important to acknowledge. Like when we're going to higher altitudes, um, if we're going to 13,000 feet, where the oxygen level is exactly the same at 13,000 feet. A lot of people don't realize, they think that there's less oxygen. The oxygen's actually exactly the same. So if we're at 1,000 feet versus 13,000 feet, it's still 21%. The reason why our body doesn't absorb the oxygen is because there's less pressure. So the more pressure our bodies are under, the more oxygen we're absorbing. The less pressure we're under, the less we're absorbing. And this is the whole concept of a hyperbaric chamber.
I
So
was
what
just
it's
gonna say,
doing,
like hyperbaric, yeah,
so
diving.
what it's doing is it's just pushing more pressure into your system. So it's increasing the bar, or increasing the atmospheric pressure, and that allows your body to absorb substantially more oxygen. So it really doesn't have to do with the level of oxygen. Now, these hyperbaric chambers will increase the level of oxygen for even better effects, but it boils down to pressure. So pressure allows your body to absorb oxygen, and I also think it's important for people to train, or even to get used to lack of oxygen. So because your body essentially is going to adjust and adapt to lower oxygen levels, and then when you start going down to these places with higher pressure at lower altitudes, your body is going to actually absorb more oxygen. And then there's a whole nother take on that with EWAT therapy. You can actually, we call it multi-step therapy, where you can go back and forth from low oxygen to high oxygen, and it essentially hacks your body or tricks your body you put it in that low oxygen mode, and then when you switch back over to high oxygen, your body's like hyper absorbing oxygen, and so it sucks all that oxygen in and works even more effectively. So methylene blue, EWAT therapy, ozone, all those things are essentially just ways to get more oxygen in our body.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the EWAT because I haven't personally tried it, but a couple of my patients actually ordered it and they're seeing amazing results, which that'll be in my link here too for you guys who are interested in just getting more information. There's quite a bit of information in there. Um, One of the things that I looked at going back to the methylene blue is the founding source of it they were using for blue jeans
Yep.
back in the day. And I remember, I choose to remember, or do you know the year that it all that came out? It was probably
It's probably
50.
in, I think it was in the, I'm not sure, but for some reason sometime in the 70s sticks out to me. So I can't remember on that one.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I was going to say something definitely around 50s to 70s, 60s. I don't, back when jeans first came out, and they were
Yeah.
trying to make that blue thing. Something happened where they had it under a microscope for some reason, and they started seeing that it was attacking all of the parasites and like different bacterias and things like right there before their eyes underneath the microscope. And they were like, wow, maybe something's to this. So they started using it on a lot of different things. And yes, it would color, your hands or your teeth or what have you, but they used it for malaria.
Yeah.
And it just wiped out malaria pretty big time. And I have to admit, I do parasite cleanses very regular, just because I work part time at a foster shelter here for animals, and we have all I think 4 or 5 cats now and 5 dogs in the house, and that's just like right now. Sometimes there's more, and sometimes there's less, depending on who's doing what and what we're fostering. But we can clean and we can parasite cleanse everybody as much as possible when you're getting new animals all the time, and they're going in and outside the house.
Hmm.
I got to stay with it as far as that. And when I did the methylene blue, I thought I was like on top of this parasite stuff. And I am telling you, it was just a 3 days of doing it. I was like, holy crap, the stuff, literally the stuff that was coming out. I was like, wow, I thought I was pretty good with the parasite thing, but this is a whole new level.
Yeah.
So, what other benefits have you seen with methylene blue besides, I know there's cognitive
Yeah.
issues that kind of help, performance, oxygen, like what else do you see?
I think the whole, like, and I want to kind of also note on that, like, it does boil down to like antimicrobial effects in the body, like dealing with pathogens, bacteria, viruses in the system. A lot of people have, like, Epstein-Barr, Lyme disease, a lot of these different conditions, and these really can address and really amp up your immune system to essentially fight that stuff off. But one thing I want to note is for that antimicrobial effect to be even more prevalent, you really do have to expose your body to light. So I want to kind of dive into the whole methylene blue ozone side really quick. So they're doing a lot of ozone treatments, like we're talking IV ozone treatments. But what they're also doing is when they're pulling the blood out, they're actually having a IV injectable grade methylene blue that they're adding to the blood. And then they're also adding UV light to it as well to activate that antimicrobial aspect of the methylene blue as it goes into the system. So you can get treatments nowadays that incorporate methylene blue. It incorporates ozone, and it also incorporates, like, I think it's either red light or UV light, and I think both work incredibly well. But it really amps up that antimicrobial aspect in the body. So for people who are dealing with parasites, people who are dealing with Lyme disease, other infections in the body, there's so many people, I think, that are being hit with these. If their immune systems are so out of check, they need something to kind of boost the ability to fight off all these pathogens. For me, methylene blue is more so increased energy, cognitive ability, and also the ability to fight off infections, and just overall, if you can do that, your body's working not as hard, so you're going to have a lot more energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I I can tell you I've made it my practice. Usually now I'm getting up in the morning, I go to the kitchen, I get it out of the fridge. I do both the probiotic and the methylene blue in the morning, go back to bed and kind of just check my emails or do whatever or watch some sort of teaching or read something on research, for that little bit of time to make sure everything absorbs. And then I
Mhm.
go on straight up and do red light therapy. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, and that's my day that's the way I start my day with, and then I go into coffee, which is where we are now, but uh, which may not be the best, but that's
I think
cheers,
I think
you know.
moderation is key
Yeah.
for everything. So, but yeah,
Well,
you're hitting it with the red light, which is exactly what you need to do. I think you're ensuring that, and I bet you probably never get sick. I mean, you sounds like you traveled just recently. I mean, traveling for me is always that worrisome thing because you're like, where have I been? Like, who's been coughing on me? What's going on? Like, what type of energy is being released from these individuals? Like, how is this stuff changing me? And so, like I just got back from a conference. I was actually a really good ozone therapy conference. It's called Frontiers 8. It was in Charleston, South Carolina,
no, I missed it. I'm so sad.
and
I
it
wish
was
I knew.
it was really good. I mean, and I want to share something else that we're working on that's really cool, that I think will combine really, really well with all these suppositories. But there were people there, including us, that it seems like there's a lot more people getting into methylene blue. I saw some liposomal methylene blue, which is really cool. I still think methylene blue is pretty absorbed. It absorbs pretty well rectally and taking it orally. So I think my big thing is putting it in the capsules right now because I think people are totally great. They love taking it orally. They'll take it rectally, but it's that staining aspect that might be pushing a little people away, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we can get it in a fashion that's super, super easy. Now, I do want to note, if you do take methylene blue, it's a little bit different taking a suppository, but if you do take it orally, you will notice that your pee turns bluish green. So just be
Yep.
prepared. That's nothing to be worried about. Totally normal. But it doesn't do that quite as much when you do it rectally. I think because it absorbs a little bit more effectively in the system. I have had some people like mention to me like they're concerned that it could cause like cross the blood-brain barrier. There's other stuff like that. That's completely false. There's no issues with that at all. This is an incredibly safe. Uh, uh, Whoa, what was
Sorry.
that? Oh, you're good. It's incredibly safe, and also to note, it was originally used. There's actually some, if you look it up, there's actually some pharmaceutical use that they've been using it for. They're actually using it to treat, I think, like urinary tract infections in
They
specific
are.
individuals. So
They
uh, it absolutely, hence the whole microbial aspect as well.
they're actually using it for like bipolar and psychotic type stuff, anxiety, because again, a lot of that is hormones and or gut things
Yeah,
that are out of balance. Um, which I was like, wow, like bipolar. I mean, that's pretty interesting.
that is interesting.
But yeah, so go into the EDTP. What does that stand
Oh,
for?
so it's EDTA. So
Oh,
EDTA is a
yeah.
chelating agent. So it's actually food grade. They put it in food for as like a preservative, but it's widely used as a chelating agent for heavy metals. So for people who have heavy metal toxicity or poisoning or stuff like that, the heavy metals essentially bind to that chelating agent and it can pull it out of your body. So I mean, I don't think people realize, but I think people are overloaded with heavy metal toxicity, just with the pollution, just the environment in general, and we have to be able to detox. Like my biggest thing is sweating. Okay, so like if you're gonna sweat, you've got like so a lot of people just don't sweat, which blows my mind. Like
That's
like
so
they can be in like a 140 degree infrared sauna and like within 10 minutes you should be having drips of sweat coming down your face. But some people that I've noticed, like it takes them like 30 minutes before a drip even starts to form. And what people need to do is they need to consistently do these infrared saunas. And what they'll find out is the sweat will start to accelerate more and more and more because their body's needing to detox. And so you have to get your body into that detox mode. Use chelating agents. Like I know like a really cool method that I've heard a lot of people use for heavy metal removal, if you're not wanting to use like a EDTA or a chelating agent or do like the IV chelation, like a really simple, cheap home remedy would be you can get cracked wall chlorella and you can take cilantro. And so cilantro pulls the heavy metal out of the body as well, but you got to still have something to bind that heavy metal to it so you can purge it, whether you evacuate your bowels or whatever. But the cracked wall chlorella binds that so the cilantro pulls it out, the cracked wall chlorella binds to the heavy metals, and then you're able to evacuate it out of your system. So that's a really cheap way for people to do heavy metal detoxing. So I always like to share that with individuals. It's not like the greatest tasting, but you do have to be consistent with it. It's all food based, and chlorella is really good for you. Cilantro, in my opinion, is probably like I would say it's my most favorite green for some reason. I don't know. I just love the way it tastes.
I put it on everything. I love it. I just had a bunch yesterday actually, but you're saying this will bind it without having to. So that's really interesting. I was trying to remember why I bought this. Just never tried it yet. So now I'm gonna have to jump on that. But heavy metals are huge because a lot of times people who are dealing with again some of the more emotional issues, it's actually the receptors are so covered in metals that they're not able to get or absorb the things that they need. And when all that gets cleared off, people tend to lose weight and do other things. And that's another thing, actually losing weight, which I have been doing. If you're losing weight, then you're melting fat, which stores a lot of heavy metals and different things, and so you really need a binder to get that stuff out, so it's not just floating around and causing people to detox, which that usually looks like people getting sick, and they think, oh, this is bad, and it's like, no, you just need to clear it out. Drink lots of water, drink some lemon water, take a binder, do some charcoal, and usually don't do supplements if you're doing charcoal, because then you're kind of wiping out and defeating the purpose of the supplement and wiping that out too. But tell me a little bit more about anything to add with that.
Also, like weight loss too quickly, that's going to release too many things into your system. I think you have to do gradual weight loss, and then obviously make sure if you are heavy metal detoxing, do that as well. But there's a lot of cool things that we can do as far as keeping our body in check. I think methylene blue, like I said, it's such an easy thing that does two things at once, and based upon what we're constantly being inundated with, I think it's a fantastic solution. Whether it taking probiotics keeps your your gut in check. EDTA helps remove the heavy metal toxicity. Ozone also, that's a great it just really makes your terrain feel fantastic. Keeps your body amped up. Another thing we're working on, and this is a really cool. We had a really great conversation about this at the Ozone Therapy Conference. Is we're going to be getting into it's called ozonated glycerin.
Yes.
So we've been tasked with the project of manufacturing it. So we're expecting to have some launches before the end of the year, probably the middle to third week of December. But that's a really cool thing, because like I was talking to one of the guys that we're going to be working with, and can we say the C word on this?
No, we can't.
Okay. So
no, I just say C word.
Yeah.
The other C word. There's two C words, right?
Yeah. So the idea is, okay, so glycerin is like a half a glucose molecule, and so they're injecting it into these C areas, and it basically tricks it, and it has all these oxidative compounds, and so these things suck it up, and then it basically acts as like a Trojan horse in the body. And so super cool how it works. There's a whole host of other benefits that you can use with it. You can use it as a nasal spray. You can probably use it as like an eardrop. I'm going to look into like even ozonated glycerin suppositories, but the downside with ozonated glycerin is the potency, the max potency only lasts for about 90 days. So you have to use it up within 90 days. I mean, it'll last longer than that, but for maximum potency, you want to use it within that 3-month window. So when we market it or we sell it, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting it up as pre-orders. And so Our equipment allows us to manufacture and put born on dates or manufactured dates. So our goal is to, take pre-orders based upon what's needed. And then as soon as it's done, we have all our orders, and then we bottle it in our lab, we lot number, we manufacture date it, and then we ship it off to the customer right away. So they're going to have probably at a maximum or a minimum, well, they'll have probably from the day that it was made till they receive it, it'll be within 5 days. So they'll have a total of 85 days of solid high potency use with that ozonated glycerin.
And I'm assuming that'll keep like in refrigerator, or like, does that help at all? I know all this stuff, like we keep either in the freezer or the refrigerator.
Yeah.
We have a little section.
Well, we do know that it will last longer in the refrigerator. We just don't know how much longer, but I'm assuming it's going to be quite a bit longer than 90 days. The 90 days is based off of room temperature, just to let you know.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we're pretty excited about that. I mean, we've had a lot of buzz being created.
Yeah, well, I texted you when we were in Reno because that was a topic that came up several times, and people knew that I had done the show with you. I had sent it to a few people, and then some people already knew before I even got there, and they were like, "Hey, will you ask him, if they have that?" And because they had another rep there that, anyway, from another country, actually. It wasn't even American made, with no offense, but I'm American and I want to support America. I want to support you. And so, family owned and all of that. There's so many reasons. There's lots of companies out there, guys, but you want to go with this guy because I do my research and I really look into things before I partner with anyone or put my name on anything for, just because of my reputation and my credibility. But yes, I was texting you like, oh my God, what about this? What about this? Because we were doing injections and different things there, which I cannot do here in Louisiana, but I can do it on myself.
Yeah, you can.
But and then I just wanted to plug too, since we're here, and the ozonated oils, which I use on my face multiple times a day. This will last a lot longer, ozone in actual oil versus, water or, different things that it'll dissipate pretty fast. I think it's like half an hour in water, unless you refrigerate it, which I've gotten to the point where if I have a couple patients that are coming in, I'll do like the 2000 little bubbler, and I'll give them whatever before they leave, and then I'll refrigerate the rest, and I'll just drink it all day. I'm just like, I love the water so much. My face feels like amazing, and then I'm putting this on a few times a day. But anyway, my friends are loving that I have given them, these links, and that they've gotten involved now too, and they're just loving how they feel, and they're loving, all the benefits from it. So thank you so much for your time here today. And anything final words about methylene blue or any of the stuff that we talked about, like anything?
Here's the thing, like, people just have to, like, a lot of people that I meet nowadays, like, they're low energy, they don't feel good, they've got issues. You got to start somewhere. Like, you got to put your health in your own hands. Like, you are your number one advocate. And so there are so many tools around nowadays. Understand, what you're going through. Don't be afraid to try things. Okay. All these things that we sell, they really have virtually no side effects. Really all they have is upsides. And so, really be your own advocate, give things a try, listen to your body, see how you react. And, just you are the only one who can truly understand what's best for you. And I think people need to take more time to understand who they are and really focus on feeling better, because this is our only life. I mean, this is our only body that we have here. And so we want to feel good and be most productive. We can spend more time with our family or our kids, everybody in general. So let's make 2025 a year to feeling better. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. And I'm just going to add, you had mentioned something about like traveling and doing all that. Just to piggyback on what you just said. And the travel part is, I travel quite a bit. I know you do too, and probably other people do too. And it's not about like who you're around and what they have. It's more about what you've done for yourself and keeping that frequency up and keeping your own terrain good. Because
Absolutely.
if we get to a point where we're good, it doesn't matter who's around us and what's going on. You just don't get sick. I mean, and especially nowadays with so many people having MTHFR, I'm seeing, I mean, that has just, I mean, I'd say 80% of the population is dealing with that at this point, where years ago, hardly anybody had it, or
Yeah.
maybe they just weren't tested. But those people really need to stay up on top of things, just to make sure they're detoxing properly, and, without that glutathione to kind of help, dump things out and detox. These are
Yep.
some simple ways that you can just have this at home and do your own thing and take that responsibility. If I say responsible, we are responsible. And you guys can do that without having to go somewhere and have somebody just give you a pill to turn the thing off. And then where are you? You're not doing anything with the root issue. And so let's get to
Exactly.
the root, and let's get that oxygen, that charge going on. And yeah, you guys check out the links. There are all kinds of fun things here. This guy, they have everything. They have it all. And I have most of it. There's still things I haven't tried, and I'm going to keep trying because I love to guinea pig all of your stuff, Toby. But thank you for your time, and
Yes.
we are going to have you back again to talk about hydrogen. So you guys be on the lookout for another show here coming up. We'll get some dates for you, but we'll be talking about hydrogen water and ozone water on the next episode. So
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
thank you. Bye-bye.